Welcome to the Urban Wine Club podcast. Pour a glass, sit back, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our cocktail webinar series. I'm your host, Foti Stamos, and along with me, my co-host, Ari Kalos.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
And as always, these are the fun segments that we always look forward to. It's the changes season. We definitely do a lot of things, especially when the weather gets colder and colder. And we have another special guest with us who has been with us a couple of times, and we love having him come back. So,
and I'm sorry to cut in, but I mentioned before my absolute favorite guest, because one of the best dressed guests we have, always to the nines, and it just makes the whole presentation so much better. I don't want to embarrass you, Erik.
It really challenges all the other guests that they have to kind of
step up your game, people.
Right, step up your game. But in any event, so we're hosting this evening the Hendrick's Hot Gin Punch Cocktail segment, which to me is fascinating that we actually are going to do recipes and cocktails from hot drinks versus cold. Because when I think of gin, I think of refreshing cold cocktails. Yeah. But in any event, let's invite our guest to the segment. Erik Andersson, thank you so much as always. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Erik.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for the intro. It's great to be here with you guys. It's becoming a tradition, which I absolutely love.
And we love it
awesome.
Too.
You're gonna be booked every season to make sure you make an appearance here.
Absolutely, I've got so many more recipes coming for you guys.
Oh, right. Perfect.
So Erik's been with us prior to really talk about gin. You know, Erik's been very informative on the origins of gin.
Give us a quick background, Foti, on Erik, just in case anybody knew.
Well, I'll quickly give and then we can have Erik kind of go into it. But Erik is the brand ambassador for Hendrick's Gin. And Erik, you can give us just a quick, background on yourself and Hendrick's.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. My name is Erik, and I look after Hendrick's Gin for the East Coast, basically Maine to Miami here in the U.S. As the brand ambassador. I've been with Hendrick's for a little bit over 8 years now, based in different parts of the world, and now I'm kind of in the cocktail heart of the world, which is the northeast of the United States, of course. We have been talking a little bit about the history of gin and the origins of this wonderful juniper spirit. Essentially, to make this wonderful sort of history of gin a little bit shorter, the juniper spirits were developed in Holland around, or like northern parts of Europe, like in the 1500s, so almost 500 years ago. Technology and all this tradition spread to England in the 1800s. But fast forwarding now to the 21st century, we've seen an explosion of new gins in the world, and gin has become a super talked about topic. Mm-hmm. And the last time we checked, I think we have almost 6,000 gins in the world today, which is extraordinary.
Wow.
Yep.
So Erik, when you say origins, when I think of gin, or used to think of gin, for some reason, James Bond always comes to mind.
Because of the martini.
And because of the martini. Yes. We're not going to make so many martinis today, but I did make myself a small one before we started. And the martinis is definitely one of the cocktails that had gin come into the fore, and it was the cocktail that really spread the word of gin. It is also a very important cocktail for gin because almost all the volume in the cocktail, or at least 2/3, is gin. So it's a gin-dominated cocktail, and that's why it really helps the gin shine, if you wish. Yeah. And that's maybe why I love it so much.
And this will be our first ever experience, because when we talked about ideas and putting on another segment for cocktails, when you said, it's the fall, let's do some hot cocktails, I was floored that was even possible.
We can absolutely do that. And I think it comes down to bartenders are really looking to learn from chefs. And as a former bartender, we were always kind of peeking into the kitchen and see what the chefs were doing. And I would say like the bar scene is maybe a decade and a half behind the culinary scene. Mm-hmm. So when these amazing chefs started to develop this new cuisine era in like 80s, early 90s, and bartenders kind of followed after that. And that's why making drinks and using different techniques is something that we bartenders really have embraced recently. But what is even more cool is that these cocktails, these hot punches, they were actually made 200-300 years ago.
Wow.
Hot gin punches was actually a thing in England back then, and it's been rediscovered now by bartenders.
Oh, wow.
So I think it's super cool. And New England, I'm down here in New York City, it gets cold and we need something to warm up in the winter months. So
very true. Very true.
That's where the idea comes from.
So you have 2 recipes and demonstrations for us this.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we did with Hendrick's Gin, this is almost 6 years ago now. It started off in Australia, and my colleague Sebastian Derbome, he was running a hot gin punch competition. And that's kind of what it set off. And having bartenders, the best bartenders from around the world, coming up with the best hot gin punch recipes. So we did a little spin on that, and we asked the bartenders here in the US to do it as well. It's a few years ago. And we came up with some really cool recipes. I am going to share with you one of my own recipes I developed, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago now.
Okay.
And then I have Sebastian's recipe as well coming up after that. So we got the first one is the Munroses, Chronic Munroses number 3, which is mine. And then we have the Hippocras Punch, which is the second one we make today. And that's Sebastian.
And just so they know, we'll have the actual recipe on the video page as well. And so if anybody misses anything, they can still find it.
That's really good to hear, because these punches, they usually have up to 10 ingredients in them.
Wow.
So it's a little bit more of a complex serve, but in the end of the day, you're making 15 cocktails for a COVID-conscious house party, if you wish.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like a punch is a sharing drink.
So if you don't have 15 people, you have to drink the whole bowl anyways, right?
Well, we should always try to enjoy the unusual responsibly. And
we're not leaving. We're going to be staying over, right? We're not leaving.
No, I think Erik is right. And spoken like a true brand ambassador. Be responsible, people.
Yeah, absolutely. But a couple of glasses of punch, and these punch can obviously made in half size if you want as well, which works perfect. So, but they are served hot, and that's why the beauty of them. They're very beautiful in the moment, kind of. Yeah. And it really fills the aroma in the kitchen with all these wonderful spices that we put in them.
Oh, nice.
Excellent.
Very nice.
Right.
Yes. Awesome.
Right to it.
Should we get into the first one?
Yes.
Sure.
And the first cocktail is, did you come up with the name of the cocktail?
Yeah, well, actually, no. There was a bartender in Australia who came up with a recipe called the Chronic Munroses. And we decided to call it the Winter Punch here. Was it?
No, we still called it
the Munroses. Oh, yes. Great. That's good stuff. No, so he called it that. And a Munro is a peak in Scotland that is over, I believe, 3,000 feet. So Scotland has a little bit of mountain ranges, and they're not very tall as they are here in the US, but they have some mountains. And the peak that is over 3 or 4,000 feet, they are called Munros. And there are a certain amount of Munros in Scotland. So that's where the name comes from. So it's kind of it's a cocktail that when you're hiking up in the mountains, you kind of want to have a little warm punch with you, I suppose.
Oh, very nice.
And mine is a variation of his punch, essentially. And that's how bartenders do these days. I'm not saying that all great cocktails have already been invented, but there are tens of thousands of cocktails out there. So if you come up with a new one, they're typically going to be a variation of something that has already been done.
It's funny, you remind me almost of like musicians who kind of sample other sounds and then create a new song out of it or something.
100%. And then we have the old musician that comes up with something completely new and then revolutionizes the whole thing. But there are not many of them. Anyway, so what I thought we'd do is we start with the Chronic Munroses then. And I'm going to go back and forth between this cam and this cam here. But what we want to do first is to build the foundation of the flavors. And I have two types of juices that I want to use in the punch, which is you can use orange or mandarin. Mandarin is very exotic, or you have a little bit of orange. That works well if it's a rich, nice orange juice. And then we're gonna put all of the ingredients in the bowl, basically in the pot. So we got 8 ounces of that and 8 ounces of the cloudy apple juice. I really like cloudy apple juice, which is unfiltered, and it works really well because it has a little bit more depth to it.
It creates better textures, maybe?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, there are these small particles that you don't want to strain out. It really helps. We also have something which is a hibiscus syrup. Wow. And I believe I'm putting 4 ounces of that. Hibiscus or roselle or sorrel, mm-hmm. They have many names, and this one is the one I bought here. They look like that. Okay. Sorrel or hibiscus, or they have many names. But the beauty of it is that it creates this really red, rich in flavor and texture kind of syrup. So I really appreciate that level of depth in the
So you made this syrup?
Yeah. So what I made this syrup with, I took essentially just a little coffee cup.
Yep.
And put the sorrel in there.
Yep. Like
a handful, and then half a cup of water, half a cup of sugar. So half a cup of like hot water, and then you just let it dissolve, and then you create this really rich, intense red syrup.
Oh, looks good.
And then you add that into the pot as well. So the punch is going to be quite deep red in color. Here we go. And another ingredient, which is really important to the drink and also really quite lovely, is the rooibos tea. So rooibos tea has a really deep red, rich kind of vanilla tones to it. And it really helps to bring out the other ingredients in the drink as well. So we're going to pour in some of this tea in here. And I just made tea like here in a little cocktail shaker. But you can make the tea however you like so. Like I said, there's a lot of ingredients in the punches, so the kitchen is getting a little bit messy, but that's completely fine. And we are at 12 ounces, and that's exactly what we made here. And don't be afraid to make a really strong, big, rich tea, that's completely appropriate for the occasion. All right, so we have the tea ready, and then we are going to add a little bit of lemon as well. And when you make hot gin punches, you don't want to put too much lemon juice because it's not very good for your stomach. So what we do is we essentially just press the juice out of, I think I put 2 ounces in the recipe here. I wouldn't put more than that. And what you do, if you have a small lemon, you get about 1 ounce from it. And if you have a medium-sized lemon, you can get up to 2 ounces, depending on the size of them. And it's also good to know if you're having a cocktail party, if you're making a certain amount of drinks, you know that a lime is typically 1 ounce and the lemon is a little bit more.
Okay, that's actually good.
Yeah, and you would think that because it's a lemon, it weighs, quite a bit. But when you press the juice, you only get about 35 or up to 40% of the weight in the liquid that you're pressing out. So the rest, more than half, is actually pulp and peel and and that stuff. So we pressed it fresh there. That's really good. And I think this is a good time to taste the punch as well. So what we want to check for here is the balance between the sugar and tartness. And it's really like the richness and the balance of it. You want to see so it's not too sour, not too tart, or not too sweet either. And I think it's a really important thing when you make a punch. That's where you want to aim at.
So how's it tasting?
It's really well balanced, and it's not overly sweet on one end. So I think it's bang on, actually. And the hot gin punches, they're not, there are a lot of recipes that you should look at and kind of guide you, but it's one of the drinks that I personally think that you don't have to be very super exact on the pouring. When you're making it, you taste it along the way. Maybe you prefer a little bit more of that flavor. I think that the punches as a family of drinks is something that you can really elaborate and make. You can tweak it a little bit yourself.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we got a little bit of star anise here for this one, and we're just popping it into the punch like this.
And will that give it a licorice element?
Exactly. There's a beautiful licorice element to it. But this drink also has a little bit of a vegetal note to it. And in terms of vegetal, I'm going to add some rosemary.
Ooh.
It's also quite rich, piney.
Yeah.
Rosemary works exceptionally well with gin because essentially juniper berries, that is a key ingredient in gin, is obviously very strongly related to all things pine.
Yeah.
So that's really good. And I put the heat on now. Note now that I haven't put the Hendricks in just yet. So I'm just putting all the other ingredients, and especially these herbs that I'm putting in the end, they need a bit of time to sit and marinate into this, to extract the full flavors of them. So we're going to put that in. And I think there was a little bit of water in the recipe. If you make the tea, you can put a little bit more tea, essentially. It doesn't really matter if you put more water or tea. So that works perfect. And then what we want to do as well is to add an apple. And I went to the farmers markets a couple of days ago, and I got some local apples. Because they are in season now, I really recommend everyone to, just, if you're making cocktails at home and whatnot, the apples right now, they're just great.
Yeah, they look really good.
Does it matter
big
what apple?
wedges. I forgot to ask it before I cut it. He's gone now.
Thought he set it up.
I have one that is a honey crisp here that
You can use any apple.
Yeah, I think you can use an apple, and that's the beauty of it as well. It doesn't really have to be that specific.
All right, cool.
But what we want to do is we want to put it into the mix here. And if you can follow with this camera here,
Yeah.
you can see how it is materializing in the pot.
Oh, looks good.
Well, we can
Good stuff.
When they invent the technology to send smell through the internet, we're going to really have something.
There was this episode of Futurama that when Dr. Farnsworth, he had a smelloscope.
Yeah, I remember that one. That would be amazing if they could invent that.
I would buy a smelloscope any day of the week. Okay, I think we got everything in here now in terms of the ingredients. And I'm going to put the lid on this punch right now. Maybe actually move it to the side for a second. So we want to, keep the heat on, but definitely not cook it. We don't want to boil the punch. We want to just let it simmer. Yeah, exactly. You can bring it up to heat. You can use full gas then, but once it starts to, move around a little bit, come down in temperature and just keep it warm.
So is there a recommended time frame that you could let us know that we haven't cooked it for too long or simmered it for too short?
I think that think about it at least 30 minutes.
Okay.
But if it sits for an hour and a half, it's not bad.
Okay.
But really low temperature. And if you get a lot of evaporation from the liquid, you can put a little bit more water in there. That's never a problem. Okay. So the point of a little bit longer boil is to extract more from the herbs in there.
Okay.
So that's why we want to keep it a little bit longer. So the Chronic Monrosis is boiling right now. And I think that we could be ready for the next one.
Sure.
So we'll let the punch simmer.
Yep.
And then we can get into the second recipe.
And which one is this one again?
This one is called the Hippocras Punch.
That's an interesting name.
Well, Erik, is there any Greek root to this recipe?
There has to be a Greek root to this recipe.
Hippocrates.
Right?
Exactly.
It is certainly. And my colleague who came up with the formula, the recipe, he's French, and he grew up in the really, really south of France in the Mediterranean. So it's a Mediterranean touch to the drink.
Gotcha.
Definitely. It's a really lovely one, and it does contain some fresh pineapple.
Oh wow!
Pineapple wine a little bit of a little bit of white pepper, and we also have some tea. So if you want to come up with your own twists on punches, if you want to use a type of tea, it's an exceptional like addition to the drink, because the word punch and the cocktail punch, it has a long history. It actually has almost 200 years more history than the word cocktail. The word cocktail was first mentioned in writing in the early 1800s, but the word punch was mentioned in the early to mid 1600s.
Interesting.
So it has an exceptionally long history. And the word punch means, in a couple of languages in South Asia, means number 5. So in Hindi, in Pashto, in Farsi, you have the number 5. So punch, number 5, comes from how many ingredients you have in a drink, or what the key ingredients are in a drink. Actually, not the amount of ingredients, but the 5 key ingredients that you need.
Oh, okay.
And what you need is a liquor, a citrus, a sugar, some spices, and water.
Oh,
interesting.
So those are the 5 that are ingredients.
That's
and obviously, yep, exactly. And you can obviously play around in all of those 5 fields. So maybe not so much.
Is that where the term punch, because you have 5 fingers, you're going to punch them?
And I don't think so.
Okay.
No connection.
Okay, are you sure? Okay, just wanted to throw that out. But that's fascinating that's where the term punch comes from. 5 ingredients.
Wow.
5 ingredients. And as you saw in the last one that we are like having simmering now, we have the alcohol we're putting in the end. Actually, I'm marinating and warming up the other ingredients first. The reason I'm doing this is that we don't want the alcohol to completely evaporate. And we know that alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water. So first we want to integrate the flavors and extract them from the herbs and the dry spices.
Yeah.
And towards the end, we can pour in the Hendrick. So that's the kind of the idea. And it's good to think about it that when you're making drinks at home, maybe you have a couple of family members coming over, a good friend that has been COVID tested, and you have this little gathering. When you put this drink on the stove and cook it a little bit in advance, and it doesn't matter if it sits there, on the stove, and then you can just like warm it up, and then you put the gin in the end.
Okay. And I mean, this is very good because the holidays are coming up, and I think we're going to really market these as well because of the holidays. And I know that lots of people will be very interested in making these drinks with the colder weather, with the holidays. People, whatever you're doing, I think it's a good aspect of.
Well, I'm sure a lot of us would be hosting at home because there are not many options.
Yeah. So this is actually perfect for that.
And it's a great one. You pour yourself a little of it, and you can go out on the balcony and kind of keep warm for a bit.
And get the heck away from everybody. Yep, I know.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really a wonderful, and it's a drink that fits the holidays so well.
Yeah,
I
really
like this style of drink.
And the drink that's simmering right now, even just the color matches the whole holiday spirit.
Yeah, and you can see it here. I actually turned the heat off briefly now because it was a little bit warm. But
yeah, that looks beautiful, nice and rich.
I wish we had one of those smelloscopes over here.
So tell us, the aroma. The aroma's amazing right now, I bet.
Yeah, it fills the whole kitchen, and this also nice. It's amazing for if you run a bar as well. It's pretty cool if you have one of these on the counter, or even like just on the back bar, and you have like a half a gallon of this slowly simmering. The aroma fills the room. And it's really, really cool how to see like how when a guest walks by and they're like,
yeah,
what a great selling point, huh?
Exactly. It's so brilliant because
I was just gonna say people go through so much to decorate, to do whatever. Having a nice aroma, this holiday aroma is such a good addition.
Yep. And I think we use all our 5 senses when we drink cocktails. You hear a cocktail shaker in the background. You see a drink coming towards you. you bring the glass up to your nose, so you smell it first, and then you taste, you get the texture of the cocktail, because that's kind of more of a faster way for the brain to process that data, and then comes the flavor. So flavor is actually the fifth sense that the brain is processing. It takes the longest. So we already have made our mind up a little bit of the drink, especially if it has a great smell.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and I think like the garnish game, and it's really important to have a drink look good, but the drink to smell great. I don't think it's as of a explored path. And if you warm something up like this, obviously the smell is amazing.
Well, look, I just imagine myself like walking into your apartment right now. I don't see the drink, I don't know what's going on, but I'm automatically going to get that aroma. I could just imagine it right now, and that right there sells it, and I'm already happy.
It's getting quite intense. I'm going to angle this down and see if you can see it from here.
And
red.
Yep. And wow. Okay. Let's keep it there for a minute. Let's dive into the second punch.
Sure.
Ari, real quickly, can we next time do these segments while we're there with Erik?
I know we do all these segments, and we don't have the benefit of being there to actually partake in this. And well, I think that's going to come after we get through some of these interesting times that we're in. But after that, I say we start booking these all together. But see, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Erik. But Erik seems like somebody who may not want us there because we're the two guys that are never going to leave, and he's just going to be like, "All right, guys, time to go."
There's a guest room, guys.
So Erik, now that you get like neighbors knocking on your door when you're making rest of these cocktails that are just curious about what's going on with the aromas.
I think, we got some notice on when we were having cocktails on the balcony.
Yeah, I was going to say your balcony. I bet you a lot of people are looking and wondering what's going on.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, and awesome. Also, when I'm shooting cocktail videos out there, people think I'm slightly mad, but I'm fine with that.
No, that's awesome.
No, good stuff. Let's see if we can get a little bit of the ingredients for the second punch in here.
Sure.
And it's a cool one. I really like the style it's approaching. So as mentioned, my colleague Seb from south of France, he wanted to bring in white wine and some brighter flavors in there. So as you notice, the first punch is actually quite big, rich, pungent, really deep and rich in flavor. But this one is a little bit more elegant, and it comes from that white wine, I think. And pineapple is such a great ingredient, and we know that we don't live in the part of the world where pineapple is, they're not quite as, it's hard to get them perfectly ripe and sweet, right? But the great way to get the rich pineapple flavor is to put it into a punch like this. Because if you boil it, or if you simmer it for a little bit, it extracts beautiful flavors from the pineapple. So it's a great way to kind of cook or make cocktails with pineapple to make a hot drink. So I'm doing, let's see if we can see this one. You can see this on the camera, right?
Yes.
Perfect. I got a half a pineapple here. There's a kind of big one. And I'm just taking off the peel of it first, like this.
And some skills there, Erik.
Maybe a little bit, not too great, unfortunately. But here we go. Cutting off that stuff, and it's taking up a lot of space. I'm gonna throw this away, like that. And then we'll cut it like so. And just make sure that you dice the pineapple, so you have not too big of dices. And what I typically do is that I get this centerpiece, which is kind of the heart of the pineapple.
Yeah.
I'll put that aside a little bit, because that's something we can put it in the punch and everything, but it's not something we want people to eat and serve, because the fibers are just a little bit too much.
Well,
I think.
You pour that into Ari's drink.
I'll take it.
Excellent. So we'll just put that into the second bowl here, or the second pot, I suppose.
Yes.
And then we'll dice these guys up. And the punch, this one also requires a bit of time. So the whole thing about starting early on the punches is quite important, I would say.
And refresh my memory on the recipes. You have do you have the time, the prep time and the cook time? Or? I believe you do.
This one is the same. I would say at least half an hour, but after it doesn't hurt to let it simmer for a little bit longer.
So the key here is, Ari, as Erik has mentioned, low heat. You can let it go for a while, right?
Low heat, long time.
Long time.
Yeah, and it's like a whiskey almost. There are now technological ways to speed up aging of whiskey, and it's usually not very good. So
I was going to say, it doesn't sound like it would be.
No.
Is it all based on temperature?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And and also a bunch of other probably chemical ideas. But this one cannot really be rushed like this. So you want to just have it simmer slowly.
So have a drink while you're waiting is what we're saying.
Great idea. Maybe a little Hendrick's martini.
Absolutely.
So we got a bit of wine in this one.
And it's always white wine.
Yeah, this is a white wine punch. The recommendation is to have something that is, I believe what he said was maybe a Sauvignon Blanc, but
so dry white wine.
Yeah, a dry white wine essentially.
Okay. Makes sense.
And so the recipe that we have forwarded out is, it asks for 1 liter, which is like a big wine bottle. I'm making half of it right now.
Okay.
Mostly because I'm home alone.
Well, you have neighbors, don't you?
Well,
I do have neighbors, actually.
Foti would have just went with the whole thing.
Yes.
It's Thursday. I think we all deserve some kind of beverage.
Thirsty Thursday.
Yes.
Thirsty Thursday, exactly. And now when we have liquid and some solids in here, I'll put the heat on.
Yep.
And we can just let that simmer for a little bit. Just bring it up to temperature. Once the temperature is up, minimum temperature. Cool.
So we got 2 recipes going at the same time for brewing here.
Exactly. So in the big pot, we got the Monroe's punch. The smell is really taking over the room right now, I'm telling you. And it's slowly starting to pick up here. There's many pineapple right now, but the wine really comes out pretty quickly. But let's go through the other ingredients as well.
Sure.
Because what we want to have in this is a bit of chamomile tea, start with. Let's see here. I'm going to measure around 8 ounces of this strong chamomile tea, like that. And then we have sugar, which is, did we put the ingredients down in ounces?
You know, I could tell you in one moment. Give me 1 second, and I'll tell you.
You did.
Do you see that?
Yeah. There's measurements for every ingredient.
Okay.
I just wanted to check if the ingredients are listed in ounces or in metric.
Some is metric and some is ounces.
Gotcha. So I think this one with the sugar is 200 grams. What we want to have, that's around 7 ounces.
Okay.
Of sugar, approximately. And this recipe is for like a half a bottle of Hendrick. So the 1 liter of wine is a big wine bottle.
Okay.
Or like a medium-sized wine bottle. And the 350 or 375 is a half a Hendrick's bottle.
Because a full Hendrick's bottle is 750.
750, exactly.
Got that, Ari?
We do have the
1 liter.
The big, the 1 liter and 175 as well.
Wow.
But but I think when we put it up, if we can maybe look at putting the recipes on a bit of both, maybe metric or just stick to ounces on.
Who would have thunk the U.S. would just stick with one of the 4 countries in the world that does not do metric?
Yeah, it's been a topic previously of discussion. So what I do have here now is I want to get some orange in here, but not necessarily orange juice, but we want to have the peel of the orange.
Mm.
And in the orange peel, you have all the lovely oils. That are so important. And also another reason why orange peel in gin cocktails works so well is that orange peel is typically botanical in gins. So Hendrick's gin uses orange peel as one of the ingredients in the gin. So if you then have orange peel in a cocktail with Hendrick's, it kind of matches and marries super well. So I'm getting 4 peels of orange here, and I'm just going to put these. So normally when you make like an old fashioned or Manhattan or any cocktail with a citrus peel, you want to press the peel in like this over the drink. But because we're kind of cooking it here, it's going to be a full extraction anyway. So you can just put it all in there together.
Got it.
And I am, the reason why we want to cook this one a little bit longer is mainly because of the pineapple. We want it to break down. So we have the pineapple. I have pre-crushed a little bit of white pepper.
Ah, yes.
And then we have the clove and the cinnamon coming down as well. That's it. And this one, I'm putting the gin in a little bit later on this, but let's just put this one on the lower temperature now. It should be all boiling. Almost ready to go. Yeah. And I think that we should be ready for a first taste of the first punch. I can smell it here. It's we're getting some really, really good flavor in there on it.
Eric, I think the big question here is, what are you going to do with all this once the webinar's over? I mean,
well,
I'm probably going to have to make some new friends.
Yes, exactly.
I think we should. I'm going to get a little cup for this, I think, because what we need is to serve this in a little vessel. And
Frank, I think we could be in Brooklyn in literally about 2.5, 3 hours. I mean,
yeah, I just let the punch still simmer.
I'll leave it on.
He's gonna shut the lights off.
Turn the lights down low. So what we got here, I want to get a little bit of this punch here, and to bring it up, I think it's the easiest way is probably to pour it into a little measuring cup, because it's very hot essentially. So we want to do that, and then we want to, let's see how like that. We take the punch bowl, and then we're going to pour it and strain this off, because now there's so many small particles and whatnot in here.
Yeah.
And it's important to get and separate these things from each other. I'm going to pour a little bit. I'm not going to pour all of it.
Okay.
Just a bit to see, so you can see there. Yeah.
It's a nice color.
It has a really, really deep, rich color in there.
Yeah.
It's quite deep red. Let me take it out like this. So here you have the actual punch. And it's all about concentrating those flavors in here. So what I want to do is to pour like maybe half a glass of this.
Yeah.
About that much. And then we get to the best part of it.
Here we go.
And to pour in the gin towards the end.
Let me just ask you, can you drink it as just a punch?
You can, absolutely.
It looks pretty tasty.
It's
not as fun, but...
That's not allowed.
No, but I think it's important to recognize as well, if we have guests who are not drinking alcohol, it's really good for that.
Good point.
And
good point. Yes.
Give some to the kids as well before we put in the gin.
A virgin.
Yeah, but what I would recommend then is that you put some water in, because the flavor that we've created here, it's super, super rich and pungent.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Yes. Wow.
So
really
it's just like very, very intense at this. So that's where the gin comes out, and it really helps it out. And you can, of course, put in the gin a little bit before you serve it, but just not too long before.
So you pour the punch into the glass, and then you pour the Hendrick's to finish it off.
Exactly.
Okay.
And for the garnish, I think it's really, really neat to use the apples that we had in there. And they're a little bit mushy, but if you have a sharp enough knife, you can something like that.
Oh.
And it is quite warm now. If you have a teacup instead, you can serve it like that. But
that's beautiful.
And these apples are some of the best apples you will ever have, because they're punch infused.
Would you ever coat the rim of the glass?
I think you can definitely do that. With this one, it would probably be a sugar rim.
Sugar rim.
A salt rim would not, maybe.
How about a cinnamon rim? That
would be really cool.
Oh.
Cinnamon. Maybe you can make like a cinnamon sugar mix.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Or like bring, yeah.
All right, that sounds pretty cool. Wow.
I remember doing that. I did something like that for a New Year's party a long time ago, where we had we dipped the glasses upside down in it was like a some kind of citrus juice, and then we dipped it in sugar.
Oh, nice.
So it was almost like a sweet and sour rim in a way. It was a bit more sweet than sour, but you can definitely do that.
I feel like I'm watching two DJs remixing the music live right now.
It's about remixing, I think. I'm going to give this a little try now.
Please do. And please give us the breakdown.
Wow. It's so intense. It's so big in flavor and rich in flavor. And you can almost put some water in this, some hot water, and it will still remain very big. Wow.
So if somebody prefers like a strong drink, you could leave it as is. If somebody prefers something maybe a little bit lighter, you add a little bit of hot water.
Just from the sound effects, we can hear how intense it is.
It really, really is. Actually, that's really nice.
So that's our chronic Monrosis.
Chronic Monrosis,
yes.
Number 3.
Number 3.
I love that name.
It was a bartender in Brisbane, Australia, who came up with the first one.
Okay.
Samuel Trippett, I believe his name was. So I gave him a little, sent him an email a few years ago, and I told him I made a twist on your punch.
So Erik, real quickly, would a cocktail like this at the restaurant level or at a bar setting, would it be a combination of it being part made in the kitchen and part at the bar because of the keeping it boiling and keeping it hot?
So I think you can keep this in the bar still.
Okay.
And there are several solutions for this for your bartenders out there. When you have, the hot cider container you keep in a bar that has some kind of heating system built in, perfect for this. And there are even some, just a very basic, it looks like a water boiler, but it's a pot that is electrical. You just keep that on there. And it's like a half a gallon or maybe 1 gallon in size. And you just have that in the bar. And it only takes about 8 inches at the most.
Okay.
A round one. You keep that in the corner somewhere, and you just let it on the lowest temperature and let it simmer in the night.
All right, so you can build the whole drink at the bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you guys are both industry professionals, how feasible is it to make these types of drinks at a bar? Is it something that's worthwhile? Is it something that you guys find, if you're a really busy bar, is it something that you as a bartender will be like, oh man, do I have to do this? Or what are your thoughts on that? As not at home. At home, this is amazing and perfect. At a bar, though, I feel like it's difficult. I don't know. You
just mentioned a keyword, professional. So I believe this is just my take, Erik. I mean, in an environment that actually cares about the quality of their servers and bartenders, I think they would still be able to execute despite how busy an establishment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. You can do it, but it all comes down to logistical solutions on this. And because it's a hot drink, it does require a little bit extra more than your typical mise en place. If you have this kind of hot cider heater that sits in the bar that doesn't take up a lot of space, and you serve this one, I would recommend to serve it in maybe on a little teacup with a saucer, because if you do that, you can put maybe a little cookie on the side, the saucer. It looks really nice, and it's a hot drink as well. So you need to have a bit of. So you can't maybe grab the drink immediately when you take it. So the teacup is really good.
And since it could simmer for a long period of time, and you don't add the gin really until a little bit before you serve it, I guess that really is more convenient than I was thinking. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the container here, you can just you pour your 4 or 5 ounces of the punch. Yeah. And then you have your 1.5 to 2 ounces of Hendrick's, depending on your size of teacup, I suppose. Okay. But yeah, the reason why Hendrick's works really well in these is that the botanical composition, it lends itself to making this type of warm drink.
I have to tell you, Erik, I popped a Hendrick's bottle 2 days ago, and we're talking about aromas. My God, do I love the smell of Hendrick's. So good.
It is exquisite.
Yeah.
Our master distiller, Leslie, she really pioneered this new style of making gin, because, gin was a very constant type of category from the early 1800s up until 20 years ago, essentially. And not many people made gin in different ways. It was a very traditional way. You made it like this, etc., etc. And when Leslie was creating it, and we asked her, when the company asked her, we want to have cucumbers and roses in the gin, and she said, well, I can do that, but I can't call it London dry gin anymore, because you can't put the cucumbers and roses in the pot stills. The flavor disintegrates and doesn't work. So she said, like, if I distill them separately and use them as infusions into the gin afterward, it'll taste amazing, but we can't call it London dry gin. And our chairman at that time, he said, marvelous, I don't care what you call it, make it delicious. And that's the kind of the birth of the distilled gin category. She basically came up with this idea of adding new infusions, but adding them in a different way.
Wow.
So kind of breaking the ground, breaking the tradition a little bit of what gin is or was at that time. And I think it's traditional gin has a very important place and role to play in the world of bartending and cocktails and everything. Absolutely. I think that gin is in 2020 now, it's more now. Yeah. It's bigger.
I agree with you. So now we have this. We did the first one. We saw it. We tasted it. We couldn't smell it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
How much time does the second need?
The second one, it's coming along here. I think we should be able to get a taste from it pretty soon here. Absolutely, yeah. It's the aroma is really filling up the room now on this one. It's so different.
How's that aroma?
It's quite pineapple forward, but the tea in this one, we were using a bit of chamomile tea.
Yeah.
So you can see here that it's simmering along really well. The pineapple is still a little bit hard, but when you garnish this drink, you don't really need a garnish on the rim of the glass or whatnot. You just need to put a couple of chunks of pineapple in the glass. So that's kind of your snack together. Here we go. I'm going to add a little bit more heat. But we can definitely have a try. And then just go through the third punch as well. If we have time for that, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, Erik, I have nowhere to go. I am here.
Excellent. I am too. So I look forward to sharing a bit more of that with you. So once this one is cooking over here, I'll put the lid back on. Try not to burn the kitchen down. And we'll go into talking a little bit about the spiced milk punch. And
this one sounds interesting. I don't think I've ever had spiced milk punch. It sounds weird to me, but I don't pass judgment until I'm going to see what you do with this.
It is definitely a more unusual style of making a drink, of course. I mean, milk punch is something that we see a little bit of resurgence of. Some bars are doing it, spice milk punch, but doing it warm is probably, it's quite unusual. But what we want to utilize here is, again, another type of tea. And for this one, we're using chai tea.
Okay.
And chai tea
that to me sounds, spiced and chai go together.
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing a chai milk, essentially. And this is how chai is drunk in several parts of Asia. That they would have it in milk instead of water. So you would put, and I suppose we do it here as well, but maybe not as much. But you just put your chai tea bag in milk and warm it up. And of course, we're not boiling it, but we're just heating it up slowly. So we make it like a chai milk. And then what you want to have in the punch as well is a little bit more spices. So I came up with this spice milk punch recipe where we make some it's a spicy syrup, like essentially a spice syrup, where you take your sugar and water. And a simple syrup, first of all, to make is just sugar and water equal parts in weight. You heat up the liquid, so you dissolve the sugar, and that's your simple syrup. What you can then do is that you can build on this syrup and make it a flavored syrup. So that's why the spicy, like a spice syrup, you can just put in cloves, nutmeg. I got some really big, nice nutmegs here that works perfectly for this kind of cocktail. Cinnamon, and a bunch of other stuff. And then you ground this up and you put it in the sugar syrup and let that simmer for a bit. So you essentially create a spicy syrup. And I think we got the recipe here as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we have the spiced milk punch. We also have the recipe, which we will post as well.
Excellent. So we have that. So the spice syrup. And what's good about these things is that you don't just make spice syrup for one drink or two drinks. You probably make like a half a quart of it. And then you cool it down, you set in the fridge, and that stuff lasts forever.
So this could replace like eggnog for the holidays, I say.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of this drink, because it is richer. But in the end of the day, the base spirit we're using is gin. So that brightens it up, and the Hendrick's really works well in it. So we got our chai milk. You take a chai tea bag in milk, and then you have your spicy syrup on the side, a half an ounce of that, 4 ounces of the milk, half an ounce of the spicy syrup. And then you can also, and I recommend it to use a bit of half and half and even full cream, but just like an ounce of it at the most to bring that richness to the drink.
Wow, yeah.
And again, about an ounce and a half of Hendrick into it.
So right now we're setting trends right now. This is where it's beginning right now. We are replacing eggnog. This is where it begins. Everybody's going to refer back to this.
Listen, Massachusetts and beyond. Here's where it starts.
Ari, we gotta include that in our what you're drinking.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna link right to this video. Absolutely.
And I think, which is great now, most people at least have a little bit more time at home and to spend in the kitchen. And I see a lot of Instagram is blowing up with home cooking right now. And this could be, taking that home cooking to be a bit more home bartender, but you're making your own house syrups and stuff like that. And I can really recommend all you home bartenders out there who wants to make new cocktails to maybe make a raspberry syrup, which is super easy. And then you find the cocktail, the Clover Club, which is the Hendrick's gin raspberry syrup, some fresh lemon juice, and just a touch of egg white. And if you want to go with the original recipe, it also has a little bit of dry vermouth. But that cocktail is amazing, but it does require you to prepare a few ingredients on the side before. But if you have time and spend more time in the kitchen, that's the time is now.
I think, this is the time. This is the time. This is exactly what people need and want, and I think it's perfect. I really, really want to push this spiced milk punch for the holidays. Like this is my goal right now.
Love it.
It's a beautiful drink. I've made it for a lot of events, especially in the winter months and holiday and the winter months, and it's just like it takes a little bit of time for the brain to process what you're actually having. But when you taste it and all the flavors just come bang and popping at you, it's super, super cool.
Yeah.
All good stuff. All good stuff. This is like, wow. To have a gin segment during the colder winter days was something I would never think of, but now I'm all about that. Makes perfect sense, right? I'm all about that.
Yeah. My God, I'm like so wishing I could taste all this stuff. Like I said, 2.5 hours, Forty. We could be in Brooklyn.
Let's do it.
2.5 hours.
We just need Erik's guarantee that he's going to lock the doors and run.
We got some questions too for Erik from the audience before we.
Yes.
Go for it,
Erik. One question here to kick off. After you make the punch and you don't use it all, can you refrigerate it and reuse it?
Absolutely. You can just keep it in Tupperware, or even if you want to strain off the solids, you can put it in a bottle, funnel it into a bottle, and put it in the fridge. This stuff lasts for quite. It doesn't last forever, but at least like a week or two in the fridge if you keep it cold.
So
good question.
Yeah.
So after, I'm sorry, can you reheat it after you pull it out of the refrigerator?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
It's super easy, and if you put it back in a pot, you can just add a little dash of extra water in there. Okay. It depends on how much you know, because if you will always have some re-evaporation of the water when you're doing that. So, but it's all good.
Second question: you did mention recommending pouring in a teacup. Any other glassware that you recommend other than a teacup?
I mean, I was using this type of glass here.
You know what
teacups that I have.
I thought about a mug with a handle. Would that work?
It would totally work.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, why not?
There you go.
I put it more for the show so we can see the color of the drink.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
when you serve it, definitely a mug works perfect.
I have my own question.
Yeah.
I just came up with it. We're gonna bottle this time. Is it perishable? Can I bottle this? Snag one of your Instagram pictures, Erik. Put a label on it and just sell this stuff. And will you go in with me as a partner?
We need to negotiate this after the call, I think.
All right. Okay. We'll talk about that after.
I'll send a little label recommendation for you. You can sell it.
I'll design everything. Don't worry.
Well,
beautiful.
As Erik, we just want to also let our audience know that when they watch these segments, we're trying to encourage a lot of our followers that to take pictures of cocktails and to tag us. And we definitely would like this segment to be one of the Kickstarters.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got this campaign called What You Drinking, and we're asking our audience and our followers to take pictures and photos or images of what they're making, tag us, and we can definitely share all these wonderful approaches and demonstrations from our followers on the cocktail recipe.
Yeah, if anybody makes any of these three, absolutely post it, absolutely tag us, and actually tag Erik. And should they tag you? I know it's Instagram, Young Mr. Flanagan, but is that what you are on Facebook as well?
Yeah, well, no, Erik Andersson.
So they could tag you as?
I think it's taggable, yeah. On Facebook, it's Erik Andersson with a K and double S.
You know what I'll do? I'm gonna find you on Facebook. I know you on Instagram, and I'm gonna post the exact tags that people could use for this, because you guys have to try these recipes and definitely tag Erik on them, because these are so good. I could only imagine how tasty these are. And I'm gonna make the spice milk punch for sure instead of eggnog. 100%, because it just got my attention.
We have a lot of recipes at hendricksgin.com as well, and I do post sometimes some new recipes on my Instagram or Ginstagram, if you like, at Young Mr. Flanagan.
Yeah, we'll definitely link to those. We'll link to the Hendrick site as well, obviously, and then I always link your Instagram, because you guys, please, you gotta check out Erik's Instagram. I said it once, I said it again. I'm a straight married man with a baby, but you gotta check out his Instagram. This guy knows how to do pictures.
Okay.
He's like my favorite guy to do the promos for, because he embodies that whole spirit.
Well, on that note, Ari, then we definitely need to bring Erik back. Erik, you did mention a couple of New Year's Eve recipes, so hopefully we'll have you back before the New Year's for some of those demonstrations for our audience.
I would love to. Yeah, I have a few other punches that I can share, but a bunch of other recipes as well that I've done for New Year's parties in the past.
Excellent.
So I would love to. And I'm going to pour a little glass of that second punch here.
Yeah.
To finish this off, just to make sure that we have, let's see how we do this. I'm going to get a little spoon to get all the pineapple pieces in here, before pieces. And then I think we're going to do it like this. I'm going to pour this over the sink so we don't
that's
too much.
Like a careful pour.
Yeah, here we go. Like so. And it's really a bit more of a lighter style of a punch, but it has an amazing aroma right now. And that white pepper together with the pineapple, it's perfect.
White pepper. I'm going to keep that in.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is, honestly.
It's pepper that's white.
Thank you, Foti. Thank you.
I'm going to put this one in here. So, yeah, this one let's go with this one here. It's just essentially...
yellow. Deep, rich yellow with the pineapple. Looks good. So good.
Yeah, and now the pineapple has got... we've got all the flavors out from it, so... after just a few minutes, there's not much pineapple flavor, but now it tastes a lot of pineapple.
So, Erik, what about remedies? If you have a sore throat, would this be a good remedy?
I think it's nice for a sore throat. We're not saying that these are medicines at all, but
Medicinal.
a warm drink
But you
this,
use rooibos tea, which
yeah,
has some medicinal qualities.
There you go.
the tea definitely has. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the gin will just make you feel better, just in general.
in general, exactly.
Well,
And the pineapple, oh my god,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And they're quite warm as well.
It's soaked up everything, and it probably tastes amazing.
this is
Yep.
this is fascinating.
Yeah, this is great.
Eric, once again,
Good stuff.
well done job. As always, you never disappoint us in our audience. We always look forward to what you have to bring to the table via the virtual world instead of in person. But all right, any last minute comments or anything that we want to share with our audience before we go to bed?
Well, you guys heard my opinions on the subject here. You know I'm a fan of Erik. There's no doubt about that. Erik, you're a great host. You embody. I have a design background. That's why I always bring out this whole you're dressed well. You have the presentation. Everything is nice. We appreciate everything you do. We love having you as a guest, and we can't wait till the next one. And hopefully, Foti said, New Year's, let's do this. And
I would love to.
just set your timer for 2.5 hours, which is about the time me and Foti will be at your place tonight to finish those off. Sound good?
Beautiful. I like that. Yeah. Boom.
So
Susanne, I saw the comment over there. Yeah, take a picture when you make the drink.
yes,
We'll make sure to check it out.
Yes, everybody out there, please, if you make these drinks, please tag Erik. I'm going to post the tags when I post these to social media, but it's Young Mr. Flanagan on Instagram, and it's Erik Andersson, Erik_Andersson on Facebook, and that's with a ERIK _ Andersson with 2 S's. Okay, not the American way, the Swedish way.
The Swedish way. Yep.
So
Excellent.
we'll post that information, and you know what, Erik, thank you once again. We appreciate your time.
as always.
Thank you. Thank you guys. It's an absolute pleasure to join you. You're so professional, and I'm so happy that you've done such a phenomenal job in bringing the Urban Wine Club into the the online community. And then
those words.
well,
Thank you. It's people like you that help
Exactly.
us do what we do.
Exactly.
Foti, thank you, Foti, for
you.
being the host here. Thank you, Erik, for being the special guest. And we're going to post these tomorrow on YouTube and the Urban Wine Club podcast. And we're going to post all of Erik's information as well. And Erik, brand ambassador for Hendrick's Gin on the East Coast. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you,
thank you, my
everybody.
friends.
Take care.
Much
Bye-bye.
love.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
Cheers.